Kuchera from Polygon, and it is the best of all possible Mondays because we just had a new episode of Game of Thrones, Season 7, Episode 1. And I am here with my co-host Chelsea, and we are going to talk everything about the episode because, my God, what an episode. How do you want to you kick us off, Chelsea? How do you want to start this?
It's really exciting after 14 months of waiting to see, all of our favorite characters back and see like a really amazing season. There's a lot of stuff we could unpack, but I actually want to start kind of not with the most dramatic scene of the episode, but kind of one of the more quiet scenes of the episode, where we saw Arya riding through the woods and encountering this group of Lannister soldiers, right? We both found this as like a really captivating scene.
Well, it's just the beautiful dulcet tones of Ed Sheeran, I believe. Sheeran. Ed, Mr. Ed was there, and he was singing, and that was like, I know so little about him other than he was a pop star, and he was going to show up. He was
a pop star. He is like. I clearly we're both very up on pop music, but I think actually the point being is that he showed up as kind of like a very obvious cameo. You're like, oh my God, this is like you can't look away from the fact that this is a huge star. Like not like Coldplay was on the show, but were like dressed in like shitty clothing. They were like I think they were part of the White Walkers, right? So they, were not obvious versus like, oh hi, this is the obvious famous person that kind of intrudes upon this world.
Yeah, you had Sigur Rós, playing Joffrey's wedding, I believe, and they were like, "This is the band, ladies and gentlemen, Sigur Rós," and there was that kind of moment. But yeah, this was super obvious. I felt so. This is kind of one of my beefs about this episode is that every like major beat it had, starting from the beginning, when everyone in the room died because Arya had to wipe out the phrase, which was awesome. I felt like the show every time it did something cool, like paused, looked at the audience, and was like, "There you go. Look at this thing. Look at this thing we did.
Are you happy now, fan?" I noticed that in your recap that you were a little like took umbrage with the fact that the show is just like doing a lot of fan service and a lot of things that fans want. But I think that it's kind of natural for a show that we waited 14 months to see to do one kind of fan servicey episode, and then we're gonna get 6 episodes. It's like also moving all the pieces into place. Mm-hmm. We're going to get 6 episodes of like a lot of people dying and a lot of shit happening. And I think it was just like, hey, we have to remind everyone who these characters are. We have to do a little obnoxious fan service with Ed Sheeran. But we need to remind people of what's happening and also set up for like fantastic battles that are going to start happening. And what I think is more important about that Lannister scene is that just before that, we saw Cersei being counseled by Jaime, and Cersei was like, "No, we have to attack all of our enemies. We have to bring down, Jon Snow and Daenerys and all these people coming at us." And Jaime was like, "Hey, we can't even feed our army. Like, we wiped out the Tyrells. Like, the Tyrells are gone. The only person left in that family is the old lady, Olenna. Like, because Cersei murdered them all, right? So." They've murdered a lot of their friends. They've turned a lot of their friends against them. So, and the Tyrells were the big source of food for the Lannister army. So now you see this scene kind of in contrast after Jaime says, we can't feed our soldiers. And these soldiers are saying, we're happy to have left King's Landing because there was no food. They were like splitting a rabbit. Like they didn't have... Did you think about that? Yeah. They didn't have any food.
Well, and that's like, so if you break down Game of Thrones outside of like the shocks the show is known for, the theme is basically power and the perception of power.
Right.
Like if I say I'm the king, but no one believes it and it doesn't actually cause any real power, and someone else can say something and cause everyone else to move, there's a lot of dissonance there, and that tension is part of a lot of where the show's drama comes from. And that's where the Lannisters are stuck, right? So Cersei's queen, they took advantage of the fact that everyone would go back on their word, and now they are dealing with a new world order where they have the power. It might be impossible to maintain, and they can't trust anyone because everyone just learned that it's like incredibly profitable to go back on what you said you were going to do. They're in.
And also nobody wants to deal with the Lannisters because Cersei is maybe a little unbalanced. She did like blow up a church to get back at everyone and caused her youngest son to kill himself, you know?
Yeah, as we say in the media, the optics on those decisions aren't
the
great.
Optics. No, I mean, and
yeah, there's no PR on that's going to make her seem like someone you're going to want to get behind.
And even going back to the annoying Ed Sheeran moment, because he's actually singing a song about Jamie. He's singing "The Hands of Gold Are Always Cold," and he's talking about Jamie's creepy cold hand touching his sister, you know, because it's like even their soldiers are kind of digging at them. I just feel like it's like, yes, they've got Cersei has exactly what she wants, but it's going to like clearly set up to crumble.
And it's interesting because I felt like through the entire episode, and I don't know why this was so gratifying. And it's not even that I take umbrage at all the fan service. I really enjoyed it, and I thought it was super cool, and it was a nice part of the episode. But then the second part of me was like, why do they need like to get us on their side so strongly, so quickly? Anyway, to get back to the point,
they're going to kill a favorite character, probably.
Yeah, you just want to build up that goodwill and that sense of fun, and then someone's going to die in just the most arbitrary way possible. But right. Jamie being forced to eat what amounts to like just loads of poo through the entire episode without, like, they were just shots of him reacting like, okay, wait, like, do I kill the guy? Like, that's normally not anything you could get away with. In the throne room, he's stuck in the situation where, like, you know, when Euron Greyjoy entered the throne room. Yeah, and he's like, I've two good hands, and there were all of these incest jokes, and it's just like, it's an open thing to be able to mock these two now, and there's very little they can do about it, and everyone kind of realizes it, and that's a very precarious situation. They have to accept help from Euron Greyjoy, who's like, yeah, it's pretty low on the list of people that I'd be like, yeah, help me. I'm in trouble. He's like the less powerful Greyjoy right now, you know? He's not Theon, sure, but so let's go into 100% speculation mode. All right. He was like, this would all be great, and I can give you the seas, and I can give you all these areas. You just need to marry me. I want to marry the most beautiful woman in the land. And Cersei's like, no, you're Aaron Greyjoy. No one wants that. And his answer was, I'm going to go and bring you a gift. Yeah. This thing that will. Okay. What is he going to come back with? I think he's going to come back with the head of, like, he wants to come back with the head of one of Dany's dragons, I bet, like, or something like that. Really? I'm going big because I feel like the Greyjoys are so into the pay the iron price thing, and they're so into murdering things. Not necessarily always good at it, but they are into it. Sure. I don't know. I know you have a different idea. I do think it has to be something big, and I hope they let that sit out there for a long time. Like, I want people to stew on this one. I don't think we're going to see it next episode. I mean, it's going to obviously be related to Daenerys, because Daenerys has part of the Greyjoy fleet. So, like, it's going after her, going after Tyrion, going after a dragon. You actually just solved the biggest problem I had with my own fan theory. Was I thought, my speculation was, he's going to come back with Tyrion. Yeah. Because they discuss it in the episode. She clearly is still very upset that he's out there, and he caused, in her mind, a lot of this destruction. But my question was, so how does Aaron realize where? I always feel like I'm butchering these names when I say them verbally. How does he figure out where he is? And like, if he has a mole and like the other faction of Greyjoys, that fixes it. That's how he finds out. That's certainly possible. That's totally. I mean, like, Greyjoys are totally untrustworthy. Like, I mean, everyone is untrustworthy in Game of Thrones, but holy shit, the Greyjoys are just fucked. Like, they're so messed up. They'll throw each other off of bridges. They'll just, like, the family is, you know, they are all about, like, drowning for redemption, like the drowned god. And they're all about, like, murdering people for taking what is theirs. There's some rough people. Kind of cool, though. Yeah, and it's I always think of these things as, like, in terms of, okay, if these characters were real people, what would they do? But also, what does the story need them to do? And also, I do feel like there's as the show goes on, it does get more fan servicey. And almost the argument against the gift being Tyrion is that him giving counsel to Danny is just so satisfying for everyone involved.
Him giving counsel to Danny is probably the only thing that is keeping Danny moving forward, because like Danny, you still got to remember, is kind of naive is a nice way of putting it. You know, she's badass, she rides dragons, but she's also like totally unprepared, you know, and like she has no background in this.
And I think that's one of the things we miss watching the TV show, because like in the books, she's like 15 years old, right? This is like an incredibly young character.
Yeah, they had to age her up, because I don't think they can show what happens to a 15-year-old.
No. But like, what's her age supposed to be at, not just in the show in general, at this point? Because significant time has passed. Significant
time has passed, but I'd still, if you're going by the show timeline, she's probably 19. 19? Okay. Like, she can't, like I'm saying, it's still only been a year, I think, since the first event kicked off. It's hard to say.
And we're also seeing, like, in the whole, you know, council chamber with Jon Stark, we are seeing, like, very young children taking... This is a culture where if it comes down to you in the line of succession and you're a child, there is like a sense of tough shit. Like you have to do your duty. And I mean, at least ceremonially, you have to, you know, take a knee, and there's probably someone else holding the power. But yeah. Yeah.
I mean, maybe not in Lyanna Mormont's case, the young girl that you say is also huge fan service.
God, I love her. Like every time she... And her rhetorical arguments in this episode that, like, she just set up all of these traps. That this is how it's going to be. This is why you can't argue with it. I'm done speaking. And
I'm a 10-year-old. I just win. I mean, to be fair, like, Bear Island is a place full of badass ladies. Like, you know, so it kind of is not surprising at all that she is this cool. Mm-hmm. But, I mean... Precocious children kind of sometimes give me the heebie-jeebies too, because it's a little too much.
But like Children of the Corn thing?
Like, why are you so smart? Oh, don't get away. But yeah, it's interesting. And that scene has some cool moments, like where you're seeing like all these young kids take up arms for their fathers and stuff like that. So I don't know, it's interesting. But they have to live up to these shitty decisions their parents made in political times.
And that scene, it's a linchpin for so many other things going on, to the point where I almost don't know like what thread I want to follow. So we see Sansa, who is clearly not all about presenting a unified front. She will fight for the things, even like while things are going on that she disagrees with.
Sansa is almost like, if you see the reflection of like Ned Stark and Catelyn Stark, it's almost the reflection of Jon. Jon is almost Ned in the way, like, I will do the right thing. I will always do the honorable thing. And Sansa's like, hey, there's political shit going on. Like, I saw the real way. Like, I've been around Littlefinger. I've been around Cersei. Like, I know there's layers to this.
She like literally says that. She's like, it's like, be a good person. I can tell you're a good person. But like Ned made really dumb decisions and he had his head chopped off, and I don't want that to happen to you.
I hope that they can balance and like have Sansa bring Jon like as a smarter character. I love Sansa's evolution, by the way. Like she really grew up into being this, you know, a spoiled brat in season 1 who was just obnoxious, and like to being so cool. And like, it sucks that she had to go through this hellish road to get here, but she's cool. She's great.
I just want, like, if you really want to do fan service, bring back the Raven dress. There was like that one moment with Littlefinger with the Raven dress, and I do think that's and actually it's a really neat evolution, because she had all of these crappy things happen to her at the beginning of the story. She had very little to no agency, and now it's like, I am taking control of myself and my destiny and kind of the lands in a way, and these things are defining me, and I'm not just this bargaining chip. Like I have a say in these things.
Especially with like telling Littlefinger off so well in this episode, because he's clearly trying to use her as a bargaining chip to go forward, or his like continual lust for power.
And I do think there are like two things intertwined there. I definitely think there's a lust for power, and I absolutely think in his heart he is sincere And if he doesn't love her, he's at least attracted to her.
He's attracted to her because of her mom.
Right. There's that thing he's always wanted, and to him it is a thing. He takes stuff, and he does it through subterfuge. So he sees like, I can fulfill this desire I've always had by, taking control of Sansa, and that's part of it. And so her shutting him down in a way that, like, by the rules of polite society, he couldn't say anything against was just delightful. I want to see more of that. I want to see cool people putting shitty people in their place. But
Littlefinger still is there, and he's still clearly going to do some shit. Like, I think he's going to be in the mix, messing. Like, who knows whose ear he's going to whisper into next? But he's going to continue to cause trouble.
Right, and he's in a position to, like, where he is just geographically, he can change the course.
And he's Lord of the Vale, so like he has a lot of actual power now.
Yeah, there's people behind him, and so that's the other thing I wanted to get into a little bit that was really interesting about this scene and how it ties this. I've seen a lot of criticism that said, like, and I mentioned this in my recap a little bit, that nothing quote unquote happened in this episode, but I think a lot of things reset. I think if you have never watched Game of Thrones before and you started watching here, you're probably going to miss a lot, but you're going to be fine overall.
Yeah.
It's like the world has changed, but the factions are relatively stable now. Everyone is in place for the next 2 seasons, but what they want are very different things. The Lannisters are interested in keeping their power. Jon Stark in Winterfell seems to be nearly 100% focused on the threat of the White Walkers.
Ben, are you giving him the Stark last name because he got it now, or because? Yeah, I'm confused. Did he become officially a Stark?
It's interesting because when I was writing the recap, I actually didn't quite remember, so I think I just continued to use Jon Snow. But it's whether or not he has the title in the eyes of the people. There are Starks in Winterfell, and he is controlling people, and he is calling on, the loyalties of the people who are loyal to the Starks. And there's not a lot of, I know I'm a bastard, but it's, no, this is my family land. You have sworn fealty to my family. You got to do this shit, I'm saying.
Also, now that Rickon is like technically back in Westeros, Bran, sorry, Rickon is dead, R.I.P. Bran is technically back in Westeros. I do wonder what kind of problems that's going to present in the next episode, when the real Stark is back.
Yeah, they kind of threw it in there, and it's not, unless you dig into the politics, you don't really see why that's a big deal. But like, as I'm thinking about it, you're right. You're absolutely right. That's huge because that's a pure bloodline going straight down.
Yeah. I mean, not that it's probably, like, unless Jon dies, very likely, it's all going to work out good for him as soon as he has a conversation about what Bran saw in the Tower of Joy, which is going to happen soon. Hopefully this season. Like, damn if we haven't waited long enough. So,
and I do feel like that's one of the really interesting things about the first episode of season 7 is it really does feel like everything has reset.
Yeah,
it's like a lot of people are dead. These are the people that have survived. We're about ready to rally our troops for a battle for power again, which is what's been happening in the past 6 seasons. But like, the major difference is the existential threat of these White Walkers are now closer.
Yeah.
Even though, like, overall, no one believes that this is a thing that's going to happen.
No, and we totally see that contrast when you see Sam Tarly, another fan service character to show up. Absolutely true, but like seeing his like trying to get legitimacy in Old Town where the Maesters reside is like really interesting because like nobody believes that he is talking any sense. Like everybody's like, whatever, zombies, So I think it's like he is taking this task upon himself, which is, again, you get to see Sam do cool Sam stuff and be a book nerd, which is great.
I always love whenever any TV show or movie or pop culture, anything, does a thing where like looking through books seems very dramatic and actiony. Like there's that, yeah, research, cross-referencing, card catalogs, pulling books from shelves, and like there was that one scene in The Lord of the Rings where Gandalf like is very dramatically like drinking his tea and going through books, and I love it. It's so nerdy.
About to solve a nerdy crime, okay?
Yeah, like I'm gonna solve this through research. Dun dun dun.
Well, it says a lot about the authors. You know, it's a little bit of Mary suing, I suppose. But I would like to say, like, this is probably actually a good time to bring up probably one of the most important things in the episode that maybe a lot of people don't understand the significance of, which is it's related to what Sam's discovery was, which is Dragon Glass inside of Dragonstone. Dragonstone is where Dany ended up at the end, and that was originally Stannis had that castle. So, you know, Stannis is dead. He left with all of his troops to go north. So that is why the castle is empty. So Stannis was given that castle at the end of Robert's Rebellion as a reward for helping his brother unseat the Mad King Aerys. So that was originally the home of the Targaryens. That's their ancestral like seat, just like Winterfell is to the Starks and Casterly Rock is to the Lannisters. So it's like for Dany to come home there is a big deal. It's like that is her homecoming essentially, and she is back in Westeros as well. But that's why it's kind of significant. But also clearly it's going to tie the threads closer together with Jon and Dany. Maybe that's their eventual meeting spot because Jon needs to get there, because that's where all the dragon glass is, which is the obsidian weapon used to kill the White Walkers.
And I thought it was really interesting because there's a few things going on there. Jon says to everyone who's like, this substance is now more important to us than gold. This is the most important thing. We have to be mining it. We have to be turning it into weapons. We have to be finding it. And suddenly we're in a situation where Daenerys is sitting on what amounts to the world's largest deposit of it. Mm-hmm. And I am sure if I get this wrong, I'm going to be corrected by 5,000 geology nerds. And
don't at me.
Geology enthusiasts. My apologies in the comments. But Dragonglass is supposed to be it's obsidian, right? Yeah, like right. That is what it is, which is a volcanic rock. So the idea that the family of fire with dragons, like, did the fact that they were dragons flying around this area create this like lodestone of dragonglass? It all fits together so neatly. If this is volcanic rock, if it's created by heat and pressure, which is two things that Targaryens have a lot of going back a long time. Mm-hmm. I just think that's interesting. That
is super interesting. It's like really nice to tie all that together. So that could be our that could be our path forward, where Jon has to leave Winterfell to go down and see Dany to get all that dragon glass. I mean, like that's yeah. It.
And that's like that ties into so many fan theories, and it's to the point, and I'm sure they are going to find ways to solve this, because it is in everyone's best interest to not get to the point in Game of Thrones quickly. They tend to drag things out because why not? It's a very profitable show.
I mean, it's also that's how the freaking source material is.
Yeah.
The books are pretty. I got to say, like, I'll probably say this a lot this season. I was so hesitant to watch season 6 because I was like, I'm a book reader. I wanted to like wait for the book. Now I've given up on that, obviously, because the book is whenever it comes, it'll come. But I feel like the show is doing so much better right now because it is free of kind of hitting the marks of the books. It's like we understand where George R. R. Martin wanted to go with the series, but we are free to take it in a more cinematic direction. And I think that's why season 6 and hopefully season 7 are going to be really strong.
And so the other thing is, I'm being told that some of the questions we're asking are answered in the books, and it's like, okay, do you want, like, you can look this stuff up?
I can't. I mean, I've read the books twice, but it's also I haven't finished reading them since the last one came out, so it's been a bit.
Yeah, it's in the previous times when I've done recaps, I have not read the books, and it was super fun for people to be like, oh, he doesn't see this, like, the magic trick of misdirection, and it's neat to see someone speculate on something you have the answer to.
Yeah.
So, but we're all in the dark about so much of this right now because it's hard to think of another like pop culture property where we've been in this situation where it's based on a series of books. The series of books are not done. The author is living and is.
I don't think this has ever happened before, and I think that's kind of what makes it exciting.
Yeah, George R. R. Martin is an active participant in this adaptation of work he's in the process of writing, but has
and he's consulting on it. He's consulting on the spinoff that they want to do. It's all like it's clearly in his vision, so I'm down with it.
Well, sometimes go ahead.
Yeah, I was saying sometimes the show does manage to shorten up some of the stuff he gets too long in the tooth with in the books.
Here's 300 pages of someone walking over the rocks, and you can do that in a montage in 2 seconds.
The books, Dany is still in Marine, stuck like forever. So, and she's just like stuck there hopelessly because George Martin is trying to bring all these characters to her, and he calls it the mirror, and he's not. And that's what's, I think, trumping him up writing this next book because he's trying to figure out how to untangle everything in the books.
So, but that was before I got off on this big digression. That's what I was trying to bring up. I feel like I know what everyone wants, where we have Daenerys coming back to her homeland to take it over. We have Jon, who wants to defend basically humanity against the White Walkers. And then you have the Lannisters, who have very little power and want more of it. It's narratively, I really do think something big has to happen with them to justify their even like continued inclusion on the show. Like they have to make some big moves for it to make sense for them to be part of, the overall environment of what's set up now that the pieces have all been shuffled and then settled a little bit.
Well, the internet theory right now is that Jaime's going to have to kill Cersei.
Really? Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
because part of the big prophecy that Cersei was delivered by this witch was that you will get power, but all your children will die, and then eventually you will die. So, and your power will be short-lived. And a lot of people are like, they set it up last season where like Cersei's in that badass kind of Michael Jackson-esque outfit and ascending onto the throne, and Jaime comes in and looks at her and is like, "Oh no!" So you think that this is possibly like that Jaime is gonna have to kill Cersei. I don't know.
We know what the Lannisters is like, an organization want, like.
But there's no more Lannisters left. It's just them.
Right. But
all their uncles are dead.
But Cersei is clearly being informed by her upbringing and her dad, and like that's her blueprint for what happens next. What does Jaime want out of this? Like in his position, what is his motivation? What is his happy end game in his own head?
I think that Jaime really wanted to just be like have a happy existence with his sister, the person that he loves the most. I mean, as gross as that is to talk about, that's Jaime's happy end goal. And I think especially with all the shit that Jaime's gone through, like, being captive, spending all that time with Brienne, he's become a little more of a rounded human where he's not like so blinded by money and everything that he's like, he loved his kids, he loves Cersei, but he's seeing kind of what power has done to her. And I think that's what's making him like, I love you, but he would probably have been happy if it was just them.
Yeah, and it's I don't want to steal these ideas because Lord knows I've done it enough in print. Russ Fushstick is sending me little DMs as we're talking, and he brings up the fact that Jaime does care about like protecting the people, about order. Like that is the reason he killed the king. Like
he killed Aerys because he was like, this guy's insane.
Right.
It ruined Jaime's reputation for a lot of things, but it was the right thing to do.
So he's clearly, I think in some seasons he was almost painted as like this sociopath from time to time, and I think the fans sometimes saw him that way. Maybe I'm misreading it.
Maybe.
But he did at the beginning, like his actions that gave him this thing that has defined him ever since. It was, in his mind at least, for the good of order, for the good of maintaining some form of, if not peace, but sanity of an organizing principle that made sense for the people.
Yeah,
Yeah, maybe that.
He's the same person who pushed a little boy out of a window, though. So
That's. I mean, yeah, that's true. He contains multitudes. There's a lot going on with our
but that's
our
why
beautiful Jamie Lannister, our young
Jamie.
son.
Young son. I think that's why everyone loves this show, these properties, though, because the characters do contain multitudes. The characters that are usually evil, pure good, we see get killed. So it's usually the characters that contain a lot of different layers that are the ones that we get. And that's kind of almost like reality. You're stuck with the real people who are not perfect good or perfect evil. They're a lot.
Well, and I think getting philosophical for a second, I actually do think that's how you survive in life. If you don't acknowledge that there's evil in people and there's evil in yourself and come to terms with it and almost sometimes expect that you're going to run into it, you're going to act naively and you're going to get crushed. So you have to operate knowing that bad people do bad things, and there has to be some modicum of like protection you offer yourself. Ned bought into the system 100% and it just killed him. It ran him right over.
Yeah.
So that is such a good segue, because I like all the characters on the show right now, which puts me in the most unenviable position. Who's going to be the first to go? Who's going to be out first?
Oh my God. I think.
Who do you want to go, and who do you think will go?
I think you need to keep Cersei around, because Cersei is the remaining heel of this show. Mm-hmm. I don't think that the only villain can't be the White Walkers, right? Mm-hmm. I wonder if no, I don't think Sansa is going to be in trouble. I think that Tyrion is in danger because of the stuff we talked about earlier. Mm-hmm. I think because a lot of people want him dead, and like Tyrion is like kind of, it sucks to be Tyrion. He is a dwarf. He is vulnerable. He can't always physically fight back. This is something he admits. And I think that he might be in trouble because of like, maybe Euron is coming from them. Maybe that's the thing he's going to deliver to Jaime mm-hmm. and Cersei. But yeah, Jaime could be in trouble. Arya, I don't think is in trouble, because I think we're going to see a much more dangerous thing happen to Arya, which is that she's killing a lot of people. And like, I think the House of Black and White kind of warned her about that. Like, they were talking about, killing for vengeance is a really dangerous path. And she's killing a lot of people. And while it's super gratifying to see that, you got to worry about Arya's humanity too. Like, think about people like the Hound, he's kind of like a living example of that.
Yeah. And I almost think someone's going to die next episode. I think this episode was so satisfying and it felt so good on so many levels. And it's like, all of the people you love are back and they're doing great things, and the Freys are dead, and Cersei's going to start making moves, and Jon's being a badass leader, and Dany's in Westeros and she's sitting on this powerful weapon, and this is the show you love. Buckle up. You'll pay for the whole seat, but you will only use the edge. And now they have to pull that rug out from under us, right? Like, we feel so good about it. I think they have to punish us.
It's almost like they've narrowed it down to the core characters. I mean, like, I don't want to say anyone, because like Davos is still around. There's like still lots of really cool people that are around. You're like, but those deaths.
Jorah is in play.
Jorah is in play. He's a Grace Bailey monster. Brienne is here killing. We have Tormund, who's like, I love Tormund.
Oh God, speak about fan service.
Oh yeah, those fuck eyes were definitely fan service. But
well, and when she like knocked that guy down, and he's like, "You're a lucky man to get slapped around by Brienne." That's whatever.
Like, I think that is totally in Tormund's character to be like a nasty boy. And
yeah,
for some reason, I'm okay with it, because I feel like Brienne can take care of herself, and that's why I'm okay with Tormund being kind of a creep, because I'm like, dude, she'll kick your ass. Like, sure, you can be a creep, but it's not like him being a creep to Sansa or something.
And I think the creep level is taken down a notch, because it's such open.
It's so
not
cute.
Just attraction, but admiration.
Yeah, exactly.
There is like, even though it's coming out in these creepy, greasy ways, it's like he does admire her. He respects her power and what she does and who she is. And I do think that's why, even though it's so...
I mean, that's how the wildlings go, though. They all their women were really tough. They remember how amazing Ygritte was. Like, they have tough women. So they're like, well, she may have trouble in Westeros fitting in. Like, the wildlings are all about that.
Yeah. And I think all of those things work together are why the audience gets to go, yeah, like this is a really fun thing instead of going.
And honestly, I hope they never fulfill that, because it's way more fun to just speculate.
Yeah. In a show where the sexual politics tend to be kind of terrible, this almost feels like a relatively positive one, right? And so like I don't want to wreck it. I want them to be Ross and Rachel for like 18 more seasons.
Right, exactly.
Circle each other.
And we know that when your ship is fulfilled, it never is as satisfying as like the anticipation. Cool.
So the one thing I feel like we're wrapping this up a little bit.
Seems like, yeah.
And so the one thing they hint on the trailer for the next episode
is watch it actually.
Oh my gosh! So there's a series of smash cuts.
No, Ben, no. I'm sorry. Producer's talking. You're not allowed to talk about that.
I'm not allowed to talk about that trailer?
No. Blocked.
Blocked. Fine.
Russ.
All right.
But it's something I want so badly to have.
There's a lot of people that listen to recaps that do not watch the coming next
Fair enough.
I don't either, specifically for these reasons, honestly. Like, because usually those recap things are so like, okay.
All right.
But I agree with you. I know.
Fair enough. I've been overruled.
We'll talk about it in DMs, Ben.
Okay. Yeah. But yeah, overall, I do think it was a fun episode, almost too fun in places.
Too fun.
But the upside to that, narratively, from what we want from Game of Thrones, which is to have our heart broken over and over, is that now we are in a place of vulnerability where we do totally expect, good things to happen to good people, and the strong people to do strong, good things, and the weak people to be punished. And that's not going to happen in the next few hours.
Yeah, totally. I want to add this one final thing. I totally saw that Frey was going to poison all of his men, because I'm like, yeah, they're all drinking. You can't trust this guy with stuff like that. But didn't expect it was Arya. I just thought he was like poisoning for some reason, because he's vindictive and old and grouchy.
But he's dead.
Yeah, like but we thought I thought it was a flashback.
No, that's interesting, because the moment that happened, I was like, she's wearing a face and everyone is dead, and it's gonna. I thought it was a flashback,
and he killed people I don't know. But I was like, that's definitely poison in all those cups. Like, why is he not drinking when someone's not drinking?
And he saves the woman, where he's like, I don't waste wine on women. This is great. I'm like, okay, she doesn't want to kill her. And I was like, yeah,
because she's an innocent person, really.
And then they're going to do the Mission Impossible scene where, Tom Cruise rips the face off and the theme plays. And that's literally exactly what they did. And it was just as good.
So disturbing. Like, I'm just like creeped out at how good she is. How do you steal faces like that? That's so scary. Yeah.
All right, great. Yeah, no, I'm super back into the show. I'm like, I really do feel like they put us in the saddle really efficiently. And I can't wait to just be beaten bloody by my enthusiasm next week. And we'll be back to talk about it then.
We'll be back. We'll cry or laugh. But yeah, 6 more weeks of recaps. And I hope you guys stick with us for the rest of this week, or the rest of this month and a half.
Absolutely. Thanks so much.